Hi, I'm Cheryl Ann from Cherry Lane's Cupcakes, and today I'm going to show you how to bake these raspberry maple fairy cakes that are not as sweet as regular cupcakes. These cupcakes are intended for Mother's Day, as most of the mothers that I know tend to prefer treats that aren't too sweet. Hidden within each cupcake is a fresh raspberry, and although these cupcakes are less sweet, it is not a diabetic friendly recipe as it still uses sugar and maple syrup. Anyways, enough talking, let's get straight into it! You'll need at least 27 to 30 of your most beautiful fresh raspberries, 125 grams of unsalted butter. It doesn't have to be softened at this point as we'll microwave it after, 2 large eggs, 125 grams of plain flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 125 grams of maple syrup. I prefer using a syrup with a thicker consistency as I find that it is sweeter, but you can use whatever syrup you prefer, 2.5 tablespoons of milk, and finally the zest of 1 large orange. Firstly, start by placing your butter into a microwave-safe bowl, and you want to microwave that for about 35 to 40 seconds. Be careful not to overheat your butter such that it becomes completely melted and transparent, but you want it to look something like this, where although it's a little bit transparent, there's still a chunk inside, so when you stir it all together, it becomes a similar consistency and still looks kind of creamy. Then just cover the bowl with some cling wrap and stick it into your freezer for about a minute or two, until the butter firms up slightly and resembles a really thick cream that is still easy to stir around. In the meantime, sift together your flour and your baking powder, giving it a thorough stir to ensure that all your baking powder is thoroughly distributed throughout the flour. Next, wash and pat dry 1 large orange and then grate the entire skin of the orange into your flour mixture. The reason for this is that the zest from the orange will provide the cupcakes with an extra dimension, giving it a tangy kind of orange flavor that makes the cupcakes taste more refreshing, and it really complements the raspberry that we will bake inside. Don't forget to flip over the back of your grater to push in the rest of the zest. Once it is all in your flour, just give it a rough mix to ensure that the orange zest breaks up and distributes itself evenly. Next, your butter would probably be ready already, but be sure to check it before this point as some freezers would probably freeze a lot quicker than others. Anyway, so your butter should have a consistency similar to this, where it kind of resembles softened butter but is a lot more liquidy than that. So try to get it to around this point, but don't be too fussed if it doesn't look exactly like this, so long as you're able to work with it and stir it around. And to that, you just add in 125 grams of maple syrup. And then you just stir that thoroughly until there's no more streaks inside, and it should look something like this. Next, just add in 2 large eggs into the flour mixture along with the maple butter. Give it a good mix until everything is incorporated. You really don't need to use an electric mixer for this because all the ingredients are really easy to combine, especially because the butter is already softened to such a point. And now you just add in your 2.5 tablespoons of milk and thoroughly mix it until everything looks smooth. And it should look something like this. So now just line your cupcake tray with 12 medium-sized cupcake liners. So as you can see here, they're kind of just shallower versions of regular cupcake papers. And now what you're going to do is put in about a tablespoon of batter into the base of the cupcakes first. Then stick your fresh raspberry inside, but if you don't have fresh raspberries, frozen raspberries should work fine. Make sure you don't defrost your frozen raspberries first though, but I would recommend just using the fresh ones if they are available to you. And then you want to cover it with a layer of batter after that. During this time, make sure that your oven is preheated to 180 degrees Celsius, and you want to bake that for 11 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. And then bring it down to 150 degrees Celsius for 4 minutes, and then back up to 175 degrees Celsius for 3 minutes. You will know that they are completely done when you stick a toothpick into one of them and it comes out clean. Alternatively, if you don't have a skewer, you can just push the top of your cupcakes gently and ensure that they spring back up. So here you will see this is my sister's hands actually, because I had to rush off halfway while filming. She is really ensuring that my cupcakes are thoroughly baked through by putting her fingerprints everywhere. Non-stop. For a little while. Anyways, now that you're done with the cupcakes, you can go on to make the frosting. So for the frosting, you will need 3 to 4 fresh raspberries, a 1/4 cup, which is 56 grams of softened unsalted butter, a 1/4 cup of milk, 2/3 of a 1/4 cup of custard sugar, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, as well as 1 tablespoon of plain flour. Start by combining your flour and your milk in a saucepan on low to medium heat, stirring constantly until the mixture thickens up. You want to make sure that you keep an eye on this so that you don't overcook your flour, but only right until when you scrape a line through the pan, it should form a line and the mixture shouldn't just fill the line back up. So it should look something like this, and after you get it to the right consistency, immediately remove it and place it into a separate cup or a bowl so that you remove it completely from the heat. So your mixture should look something like this, like a thick paste that's really smooth, and it should take a couple seconds for it to fall off from your spoon. Next, in a large bowl, beat together your softened unsalted butter together with your sugar. Remember to scrape down the sides as you go along to ensure that you thoroughly incorporate all of the ingredients throughout. Once that's done, just add in 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, beat that, and then add in your flour mixture that has already been cooled to room temperature. You really want to make sure that it's cool because you don't want it melting the butter and the sugar. So once it's cool, add it into this mixture and beat that well until everything looks smooth. Make sure you remember to scrape down the sides as you go along so that you mix everything thoroughly together. Now just throw in about 3 to 4 fresh raspberries and give it a good mix so that it provides a really gorgeous light pink color with raspberry bits inside, and that's it. You are done with the frosting as well. Note that these cupcakes use very little frosting each because I wanted it to be less sweet, but at the same time full of flavor that is maple, raspberry, and orange. This frosting is easily pipeable. If you wanted to make more to give it more frosting, so you want to make it prettier, you can do so. But I only wanted to put about a teaspoon of frosting on each cupcake so that it wouldn't be too overwhelmingly sweet, but I needed a frosting to give it a little bit extra sweetness. So I only put about a teaspoon, a thin layer on top, and topped each one with a fresh raspberry to give it more of a little burst of fruit inside and out. So when you cut or bite into one of these cupcakes, you'll find that it tastes like there's a subtle sourness from the raspberries and the refreshingness of the orange, but the maple syrup helps to give it more flavor and the sweetness that it comes from. Anyways, I hope this video has been helpful to you guys, and if your mom prefers treats that are a little less sweet, hopefully this recipe can acquire to her taste. And if you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and now that you have been hanging around long enough, I would actually like to dedicate this video to my own mum. And I also wrote a little poem that I'd like to present to her, as she won't be able to celebrate Mother's Day with me as I've been living in Australia for the past 6 years and she still lives in Singapore. So this is my way of telling you how much I love, admire, and appreciate everything you've ever done for me, Mum. So here is my little poem from me to you and to help me to edit it. On October 27, 1993, brought me into this world with a sister for me. Times got tough, but you never gave up. No matter how rough, you kept fighting on for us. You taught us to be strong, showed us how to love, scolded us when we were wrong, and guided us all along. You always put us before yourself, even if that meant sacrificing everything else. You continuously fight to make our dreams come true, showing us the world from every point of view. So on this special day, and all the days to come, I'd like to thank you, Mom, for all that you have done. I promise you that when Zeh and I succeed, will fulfill all the things you dream about and continue to make you proud.